Are you thinking about selling your home without a realtor? Well, in this video, I'm gonna go over 10 of my best tips for selling your home without using a realtor. And make sure you stick around because number 6, I don't hear anybody talk about. Now, full disclosure, my name is Evan and I am a local Cincinnati realtor. So I just wanna get that out of the way, but these are all of my tips on how you can sell a home without hiring someone like me. I do want to mention really quickly, I have a couple free guides on like open houses and how to prepare your home for pictures and things like that that I give to a lot of for sale by owners for completely free. So if you're watching this and you're interested in that, just comment below or shoot me a call or text and I'll make sure to send that over to you. All right, let's get right into it. So number 1 is going to be prepare your home. So what I mean by this is do things like you want to go ahead and paint the walls. If there's, let's say you have like a purple room for whatever reason, think about painting that maybe a more neutral color. Or if there's a bunch of scratches and maybe like black marks from furniture rubbing up on the wall, you'll want to go ahead and get that painted. You'll also want to consider doing things on the exterior that helps with curb appeal, like some fresh mulch. Make sure you have the yard nice and maintained. You don't have to go overboard, but just make sure the grass has been mowed recently and things like that. And also maybe consider power washing the side of your home if there's been some like mildew buildup on the side of it, things like that. This is also a good time to check on the maintenance of things like your water heater and your HVAC system. You want to change your air filters and things like that. And I personally recommend considering getting a home inspection. Now, of course, buyers that put an offer on your home are going to get their own inspection, but it's always good to have a pre-listing inspection so you know of any major issues that might pop up before the home is even on the market. And it's also just good because then you can be transparent with the buyers up front, which can make your home a little more appealing compared to other homes because they already know what they're getting into. All right, and number 2 is going to be photos. Now, I personally recommend professional photos, and I'm gonna tell you why, but then I'm gonna tell you what you can do if you don't wanna spend the money on a professional photographer. So, the reason I recommend professional photos and hiring a professional photographer is we have stats that say, I'll put this up on the screen. We have stats that say 90% of home buyers first start looking online. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that number was even more, just given the day and age right now. I don't know many people that say, let's start looking at homes, and then they just go out and drive. They're probably going on Zillow or someplace online. 98% of home buyers say that photos make a difference when deciding if they want to view a home or not. So that is basically all buyers are going to be looking at the photos, and they're going to use that to determine if they even want to see your home. So photos are very important. On average, homes that have professional photos are on the market 10 days less than homes that do not have professional photos. And my last stat here is professional photos get on average 61% more views than listings without professional photos. So there you go. I know I threw a bunch of stats at you there, but I just wanted to let you know it's not my opinion that professional photos help sell your home. It is just the facts. However, I'm not saying you can't take good, high quality photos on your own. Even with a camera, most iPhone cameras have great cameras now. So a couple things to do if you're gonna do it on your own, change the lens to the 0.5 feature. This is gonna help show all of the room in one picture, and it's just gonna help the room feel less crowded, which is huge. When you're showing photos online of the home, you don't want it to seem like it's small and crowded. I also recommend taking your photos either in the early morning or late afternoon. When you get into that midday window, the lighting can be a little too harsh. So early morning and late afternoon is best. Open up those windows, or the blinds I should say, and let that natural light in. And lastly, the first photo that you post, if you're using like Zillow for example, the first photo of your home should be the entire front portion of your home. So you'll want to go to the sidewalk or even the street to take that photo to make sure you encompass everything. If you have like a tree in your front yard that's kind of towards the front, then you might even have to back up even more, maybe into like your neighbor's yard. if they're okay with that, just to make sure you can capture everything. That photo is the most important, so take your time on that one because that's going to be the first photo that people see. So that determines if they even click on your listing to see the other photos. All right, tip number 3 is pricing strategy. So I've talked about this before in some of my other videos. I won't go super in depth, but basically with your pricing strategy, the first thing you want to do is pull comparable solds in your neighborhood. I would recommend doing a timeline of the last 3 to 6 months, and I would set the radius to no more than a mile from your home and look at homes that have sold in that radius and in that time frame in your area. Make sure that ideally it's the same bed and bath count, but if you can't find enough comparables, then you can change it to maybe they have one extra bathroom or one extra bedroom or one less, and just kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at those prices. You'll also want to keep in mind the condition of the home. If it's a fixer-upper, you probably don't want to consider that in your comparables when comparing to your home, unless your home is also a fixer-upper. And then also just keep in mind the danger of pricing your home too high or too low. If you price it too high right off the bat, you're going to limit the pool of buyers that are interested in your home. And if you don't sell in the first 7 to 10 days, statistically, you're going to be getting a lot less than you could have for your home. You're probably going to have to drop the price, and people are going to start looking like, oh, okay, that home's been on the market for a couple weeks now, they've dropped the price. In their mind, they start to wonder what could be wrong with this home. You also don't want to price it too low, of course, because you don't want to be leaving money on the table. A happy medium is ideal. You want to drive interest, and ideally a great priced home will be right in the middle where you have a bunch of interest but it's not too low. You end up getting multiple offers and you'll end up getting over your asking price. I do have a video on this, so I'll link it up here. Again, I don't want to go too in depth on it here just because we have a lot to talk about in this video, but pricing is the most important thing when it comes to selling your home for top dollar and quickly. So definitely spend your time on this. If you have questions, please reach out, but be ready to adapt. At the end of the day, no matter how much you want your home to be worth, the market is going to tell you what it's worth. So if you list your home and in the first week you only get 3 showings, well, the market's telling you you priced it too high. If you list your home and in the first week you got, say, 35, 40 showings and a bunch of offers, well, maybe you priced it too low, but at least you have offers and you can negotiate. So just keep that in mind. Again, if you have questions, please reach out. All right, number 4 is marketing strategy. So most for sale by owners are probably going to post their home on a website like Zillow, maybe Realtor.com, Homes.com, places like that. That's definitely a great strategy. Honestly, it's probably the best one in terms of getting your home out in front of the most eyeballs. Another option you could consider is hiring a flat rate broker. If you don't know what that is, essentially there are some brokerages out there who will list your home on the MLS for you for a small flat rate. I'm honestly not sure exactly how much. I think it usually starts around 500 or 600 or so. Keep in mind they will not help you with like photos. They won't market your home for you. They won't negotiate. They won't take calls, anything like that. They're literally just going to plug your home into the MLS so you can get more eyeballs on your home. It is a good strategy, but you want to make sure that you have good photos and a good description in the MLS as well. All right, number 5 is going to be determine when will you allow showings. And I think this one is very much overlooked. A lot of times people don't think about that. If you have a full-time job, maybe you and your spouse have a full-time job, you're not going to be home for a large portion of the day, right? Maybe 8 hours or so. Or maybe you work from home, but you don't want to be home when the showing's there, so you're going to have to find somewhere to go. So I think this gets overlooked a lot, and ideally you want to have your home available to be seen for the most hours per day as possible. If you limit it to only 4 hours a day, you're not going to get near as many showings as you would if you opened that up. And that can lead to people just not even trying to view your home because they consider it too much of a struggle. And so I would highly recommend, before you list your home, come up with a plan of we're going to have our home available to be seen for X amount of time. Ideally, at least 4 hours, but I would recommend at least 8 hours in all honesty. People do want to see it in the middle of the day sometimes too. And with that being said, if you are going to allow showings while you're not home, then you'll need to get a lockbox and you'll have to provide that code to either a realtor or just the buyers that don't have a realtor. And so that can be a safety concern. So just something to keep in mind there as well. All right, number 6 goes kind of hand in hand. And I honestly think, I know I said number 5 was overlooked, but this one might be the most overlooked. And this is handling phone calls. I work with, not as much now, but I definitely did in the past, a lot of for sale by owners. And so like I said in the beginning, I've helped them out with just sending guides for open houses and things like that. And I ended up listing some of the for sale by owners. But what I noticed when I talk to for sale by owners is the amount of phone calls they get, and every single one of them tells me how frustrated they are with the phone calls they get, because they might get 20 plus calls a day, but 90% of those aren't interested buyers. It's real estate agents trying to get a listing, it's loan officers, it's cash buyers trying to buy it for a deal cheaper because they're paying cash. So that's just something to keep in mind. You're gonna get a lot of calls, but you have to be available to answer them, because any one of those could be a buyer who's interested. And if they try to call you a few times and you never answer, well, they're probably just gonna move on to the next home. So something to keep in mind, be prepared to answer a lot of phone calls. All right, number 7 is going to be negotiating. So this is something that if you had a real estate agent, they would be doing on behalf of you. But of course, in this instance, you're not hiring a real estate agent. So you want to be prepared for not only how to negotiate, but what items you might be negotiating. So obviously, everyone knows, expect to be negotiating price possibly, but then you'll want to expect to negotiate possibly commission. Most buyers do have an agent that represents them, and a majority of the time they expect the sellers to pay that commission. So you'll want to think about how you are going to negotiate that. It could be you're willing to pay some of it, maybe you want to pay all of it, depending on the price they offer, or maybe you don't want to pay any at all, but you'll want to keep that in mind. Know what you're expecting to pay before you list your home. You'll also want to be prepared to negotiate things like inspection periods and financing contingencies and earnest money. All of these things play a role into how strong an offer is. And if you get a couple different offers that are all maybe around the same price, you'll want to be familiar with these terms to determine which offer is the best for you. Number 8 is going to be contract signing. So I mentioned in the last number 7 that most buyers probably have an agent with them. So if they do have an agent, this is probably a good thing for you in this scenario when it comes to contract signing, because they're already going to have a contract written up by their MLS. Their MLS probably hired or did hire an attorney to draft that contract. So you know it's going to be a legit contract. But you want to make sure you read through all of it and you understand all of those items so you don't get gypped and you end up paying money towards their closing costs unknowingly or things like that. If they don't have an agent, then you're going to need to probably hire an attorney to draft up a contract agreement between the both of you, or you could always ask the buyer to do that. But either way, you might want to consider having an attorney at least look over the contract before you sign anything. All right, and number 9 is going to be inspections and appraisals. So we kind of talked about inspections already, about how long will they take. That will be determined in the purchase agreement that you and the buyers sign. But then you'll want to think about how much money are you willing to put towards repairs. Maybe it's a couple thousand, maybe it's none at all. Maybe you don't want to fix any repairs, but you're willing to give the buyers money at closing so that they can fix them later. But you're like, I don't want to fix anything, I just want to get the ball rolling and let's get this thing closed. You'll also want to think about appraisals. So what happens if the appraisal comes back and the home is appraised for less than what the buyers agreed to purchase it for? Well, then you and the buyers have some negotiating to do. The buyers might have to come up with cash to make up that difference, but maybe they don't have it or they're not willing to do that. Are you willing to come down a little bit? There's things in that negotiating process that you need to consider. All right, and number 10, last but not least, is going to be title and closing. So I would recommend before you ever list your home, go ahead and find a title company. and this will be who does the title search to check for any liens on the property, and also to get your title insurance policy. And also they'll handle closing, so you'll probably have your closing at their office. So they'll handle making sure everybody at the table gets the funds that they are credited for. So the buyers will get any credits that they might have. Buyers will also bring the money to the table for the down payment. Any realtor or loan officer will get their amount, and you'll get your check. The title company will handle that for you. They might call you up in a couple times during the process for some questions here and there, but I would recommend calling around for a few different title companies. Ask them about their experience with using for sale by owners. If they kind of hesitate or they seem like they're not maybe the most eager to do that, I would call someone else. There's some title companies out there that just don't want to mess with it because in their minds they think, oh, there's not a realtor involved, this could get messy. So I would recommend calling a few and finding one that best suits you. All right, guys, so that was 10 tips on how to sell your home without a realtor. Now, of course, if you're going through this process and you have any questions, I'd love to help you out. Or maybe you've determined that you do want to hire a realtor. I would love to talk with you and decide if we're a good fit for each other. All of my contact information is in the description. You can call, text, email, or even book a call with me, and we can chat about your needs and see how we could work together. Let me know if there's another video on any real estate related topic, whether it's in Cincinnati or just a broader topic that you'd like me to cover. Thank you so much for watching, and if you did enjoy the video, if you could do me a favor and just hit like and consider subscribing for more videos like this. Again, thank you for watching, and until next time.